Well, the State of the Union is this week, but many are concerned about the mental state of the man who will give that address. The New York Times Siena College poll was released and it reveals, I don't know if it's a big surprise, but it is a stark reality. 61% of Biden's 2020 voters now view him as too old for an effective presidency. 61% of those who voted for him in 2020 think he's too old now. He won't be effective. And my view, yeah, he's old, but they're also looking at what has happened over the past 3 years, Kevin. This has been a very ineffective presidency. They got something they told they were not going to get, I think.
And and people say, but what about Donald Trump? He's old too. He's only 4 years younger than Biden, but Donald Trump is not facing the problems with the age question that Joe Biden is. Only 15% of Trump 2020 voters expressing doubts about his age. As you said, 61% of Biden 2020 voters believe he's just too old. What does it mean? Is Joe Biden in it to win it, despite this topic still coming up? And Thursday, how big is Thursday? State of the Union address for Joe Biden. Will he go a full hour? Can he go a full hour?
Sure.
Will he be fired up and strong, or will he just be straightforward?
Somehow he's going to be fired up and strong.
You think he's going to do well? The bar is low, so.
No, he's done well in the past. Like, he's a different individual.
I've been watching.
I know you have, but he's a different person.
You want to say he's getting shot up with Gatorade or something?
Something's amiss. I don't know what's going on. Like, in the green room before he steps out, I don't know what happens.
If he can perform, it's time to perform. Then so be it. We'll see. I'm looking forward to Thursday. Let's bring in Rashini Rajkumar, political strategist, also host of the podcast The Crisis Files. Good morning, Rashini. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin and Tom. Thursday might be a night for that 5-hour energy drink.
Yes.
Right.
I do know he will get through the hour. He will manage. But you're right. It is absolutely, he's going to be on display physically, mentally, optics, you name it. It's going on for this State of the Union.
It's going on right now.
Especially following these polls.
He was at Camp David. He was at Camp David this weekend. I'm sure he's already rehearsed this thing about 20 or 30 times. But when you look at these numbers, can you come back? It's like the one thing you can't, like, the economy could be fine on Election Day. I don't know. But Joe Biden is not going to be younger on Election Day.
You're right. And here's the thing. You've heard me say I'm not big on polls. And the polls I'm not big on are the ones where they're trying to call the horse race so many months in advance when there are so many layers that can happen. But this poll is a direct qualitative question. Is this guy, do you have, American people, do you have the belief that this man, our current president, has the ability, the mental capacity, the physical capacity to go on for 4 more years? That's a qualitative question that it really kind of defies polls. So this is bad for Biden. It's bad for the Democrats. So the reality check is not only for President Biden, but it's also for the entire Democratic Party. Do you want to continue to put all your eggs in this basket? It's kind of a losing battle. And this poll, or the latest polls, really show that.
So, but still, 30 or 40 million Americans are planning to vote for this guy. Do they just say, the people around him can run the country? I don't really care if Joe's in charge or not. How do you go in and how do you have 60% who say he's too old to do the job, but we're still going to vote for him anyway?
Yeah, that is what's interesting to me, that we've gotten to this place in our country where some people are probably saying, oh, he's not running it anyway, it's his team. Well, that's really scary. I mean, the framers are rolling over in their graves. That is not how it's supposed to be. I remember, not so long ago when I would get very invigorated by presidential campaigns. I loved seeing and watching these different candidates debate one another, vying for our vote, trying to inspire us, all of those things. And that's just not happening right now. Not only for me is it not happening from Biden, it's not really happening from Trump either. But, we're talking about Biden today, and these polls are not helping him.
Yeah, so I have a lot of Democratic friends. I have a lot of Republican friends. But many of the Democrats I know are saying, listen, I am not voting for Joe Biden. And many of them are actually switching over to Donald Trump, not just based on his age. That's part of it. But it's also based on what they've seen happen to this country in the past 3 years. Do you think there's a growing number of specifically Democrats who might be not just switching their vote, hoping maybe Gavin Newsom jumps in, but actually switching parties this time around?
Absolutely. And it's funny you asked that question, Tom, because just yesterday I got a call in the middle of the day on a Sunday asking me, she identified herself as with the Democratic Party, and she said, "We are asking you to vote in the Democratic primary as a non-committed Democrat." And I said, "Well, I'm not identifying with either party, so I don't vote in primaries, but thanks for calling. And if I know any Democratic friends, I'll share this news with them." So she thanked me for that. But this is the thing. They're asking people to go and vote in the Democratic primary here in the state of Minnesota, where I am, and vote uncommitted. I
Yeah.
think that's really
You
interesting.
got a big day tomorrow because Minnesota's part of the Super Tuesday. How do you
Yes.
think that's going to go? I know there's a big, strong liberal base in the state of Minnesota, but there's some conservatives there as well. How do you see Minnesota turning out tomorrow?
Well, yes, it is a pretty darn liberal state. We're also the state where, Dean Phillips was trying to run for president. So it will be very interesting to see what happens on the Democratic side of this. Also interesting to see the Republican side of this because what they say, at least they separate us into kind of the urban areas, the outstate areas, and some of our outstate congressional districts do lean Republican. So I think it's going to be a very interesting night for Minnesotans and those who are covering those primaries.
The same poll we're talking about says when you look at the direction of the country, only 24% say it's on the right track, 65% say it's on the wrong track. With the economy, 7% say the economy's excellent, 19% say good, 23% fair, and 51% say it's poor. What does that mean for the incumbent?
That is never good for the incumbent. When the incumbent can really point to the economy and shows some real wins, that's a good day, and that's bad for any kind of challenger in the big races. But in this case, what the Democrats and Biden seem to have to always do when you watch them, on the national stages, on press conferences, is they sort of overinflate or conflate what they've done. And that is, the numbers are there. And then, like you referenced this poll, when more than half of these respondents are saying the economy's not in great shape, think of who middle America is. They're really worrying about buying or selling a home in light of interest rates. They are worried about the price of food. Those are the things that really hit everyone's pocketbooks. Now, the difference will be is who goes and votes. That's really kind of the key. And not all the people that are so upset or saying the country isn't in great shape are also going to go and vote. So really, the winner needs people on his side. In this case, it could be a man. Who knows what will happen with Nikki Haley? The winner needs people to vote. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
And the people that maybe aren't talking, not the extremes, but all those in the middle, which I'm part of that,
Yeah.
who don't end up in some of these headlines.
Yeah, for sure. And there's growing sentiment among them as well. What that is, we don't know for sure because they're quiet. But I do wonder what we do with all this information. Clearly Joe Biden's going to win the nomination, but does that mean he ends up the candidate in the general because of what may happen in the convention over the summer? It's a lot of questions. We don't know exactly what's happening, but something is amiss, as we talked about. Always appreciate your perspective on this. Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist, analyst, and host of the Crisis Files podcast. Roshini, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.